Welcome to Back Talk, the premier podcast from Successful Black Parenting Magazine, featuring in depth conversations and expert insights on crucial topics for Black families. We're ranked one of the top 4 Black family podcasts on FeedSpot. I'm your host, Janice Robinson Celeste. I also want to tell you all about our Black Parenting Academy, which we're launching on April 14th. We have some amazing master classes for Black parents. So go to blackparentingacademy.com right now, Black Parenting Academy right now, and you can get on the waiting list, okay? So now back to our show. Did you know that according to the National Center for Educational Statistics, Black students are nearly 4 times more likely to attend under-resourced schools with fewer advanced courses, larger class sizes, and lower teacher retention? Well, I want you to stay tuned and let's find out more.
This is Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting Magazine, the most listened to podcast for parents by parents.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting Magazine, your go-to podcast talk show for parents. Now, I need a little favor from all of you listeners out there. Go ahead, spread the word about our show. The more you engage, the more we can all thrive. Well, now we're live. Yes, we are. Sometimes we're live, sometimes we're not, but we are live right now, which means you can post questions under this video if you're on Facebook or YouTube, and we encourage you to post questions. So please do. And we will answer your questions live on air, but you need to do it early. Don't wait till we're about to close out the show, and I will put it right up on the screen. Tell your friends, shout it out to your followers, because sharing is truly caring. So share this broadcast right now. And don't forget to use hashtag BackTalk when you post, okay? Now, on this episode of BackTalk, we have a special guest. Her name is Nicole Stewart Jones, and she's here to tell us all about microschools. Now, if you don't know what a microschool is, stay tuned because it may be the best thing for your child coming. So, welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thank you for having me. I am excited to be here.
Awesome. Can you introduce yourself to the audience? Tell them about your background and what you do.
Absolutely, I can do that. I'm Nicole Stewart. I am the founder of the National Association of Black Microschool Leaders. I am also the founder of Rich Kids University, which is an online mentoring and enrichment curriculum for kids. I also have a microschool that I founded called Legacy Prep Christian Academy. But I said all of that, but I'm going to tell you about the most important thing in my life. I am a mother of 4 beautiful children, 3 boys, 1 girl. I'm a wife. And I'm a lover of God. So those are the things that I want you to know most about me. But some of the other things that I think are important in this conversation about me and who I am is that I taught in traditional education for over 18 years. And it was a beautiful journey. It was a beautiful journey that ended about 3 years ago when I started my microschool journey.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you are busy. That's what you're telling me.
I'm just telling you busy. That was, I could have just said that, right? We could have been.
You're a busy woman, but that's all right. You're doing good work, right? You're doing good work, doing God's work. Get it? I love it.
And work that I love. I absolutely love it. Yes.
And that's most important. So we always start with the icebreaker lately. And I want you to tell our audience who's listening, because we have audiences everywhere right now. We have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have Facebook. And then it's going to go on Spotify and be on all the different podcast platforms, from iHeartRadio to Apple to Google. So what is the one thing most people don't know about you?
I think the one thing that most people don't know about me is that I am an introvert. My work doesn't allow me to be that person, right? It requires that I be somebody different. But when it's time, when I get the moment, I relish in just sitting with myself, just sitting with a good book, or with my children. My children know it more than anything. They always feel like it's funny to watch me speak or to watch me do the things that I do because my natural inclination is not to do any of that. Just sit in my own space and be with the book and be with a good book. So that's probably the thing that people don't know.
Well, Nicole, I can tell you we are soul sisters. We are soul sisters because I'm forced to be an extrovert, right?
Yep.
Because of what I do. But if
Yes.
I had my choice, I'd be in the house and I'm an introvert. I don't talk to people.
Right.
That time I'm like, I don't even like people.
No.
Give me kids and pets anytime. But
Right.
you know what? I'm forced to do it. So
Yeah.
and it's okay sometimes. I'm that type of person, and you can tell me if you can relate. Because I'm the type of person, someone invites me somewhere, I'm like, oh, okay, okay, I'll come. And then I'm like, why did I say that? Why am I going? Why am I going? And but I get there, and I have a great time, and I'm like, "Oh, I
Right.
like this.
Right.
I like this." And then it's rinse and repeat the next time.
Yep.
Rinse and repeat.
Listen, you're right. We are soul sisters because I'm like, I have to talk myself into it. I'm like, you're gonna like it when you get there. You're gonna enjoy the people. You like people. You just, come on. I talk myself into going. Same thing. I have a great time, and then the next time I'm like, I don't really want to.
Right. I
So
wonder
yeah,
if other people can relate to that because I like,
I think so.
almost got a shirt for my family events because I love my family. I do, like
Mhm.
my extended family. But it is a t-shirt. It read, um, I'm sorry I'm late. I really didn't want to come.
Yes,
Get it?
yes,
Because I thought it was rude, but it was hilarious to me. But that's kinda like how I felt sometimes, I'm not like that
yeah.
with everything, but when I get there, I always have a great time. So I'm like, "Why?" And it doesn't matter what it is, like girlfriend trips, whatever. I'm like, "All right, here we go." But I go and I have a blast, and then I start all over again, so I just don't get it. But anyway, let's go into micro schools because that's what we're here for today. And guys, you're gonna learn something about micro schools, and I almost started one accidentally during COVID. During COVID, as I was because I was asked, because I'll explain later, but tell
Right.
us what micro schools are.
So, micro schools are small learning environments. They are uniquely positioned because generally there is about up to 12 students in a learning environment like mine, right? There are plenty of people. The funny thing is, about micro schools is that they take on different meanings to different people, right? There are many versions of micro schools, but in general, micro schools are small learning environments with personalized education geared toward the particular child or student's needs. That's a very generalized description of what micro school is. But a micro school, as I think about it, as I think about our very own network, they really run the gamut. But the thing that is consistent throughout them is that they are small and learning is personalized. Now, now it branches out from there.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
some people hear micro school and they think it's just homeschooling with a fancier name. So, what makes micro schools distinct, and why is that distinction important for Black families?
So, what makes micro schools different from homeschools is that there is usually a drop off that makes it similar to a school environment. So, you would have a school that you can actually drop your children off to. Someone else helps you with the responsibility of educating your child. So, it's very similar to homeschool, but It's also have some similarities to traditional education as well, in that the environment is one is very school-like, that there is a teacher, right? That there is someone leading and guiding the education for your child. It's not the parent. The parent is working in cooperation with the teacher. They're working as a team to educate the child. And so micro schools are different from homeschools in that way, in that the teachers usually partner with the parents, and the parents aren't solely responsible for their child's education.
Okay. All right. Are they ever in someone's home?
Micro schools, absolutely. There are many micro schools that are inside the home. It depends upon the state. Some states allow you to operate inside the home, and some do not. And so, it depends on the state whether or
Okay.
not you can operate a micro school in your home.
Got it.
Yeah.
So when I said I accidentally almost started one, so I was always caring for my she was 2 then, she's 8
Mhm.
now, 2-year-old granddaughter during, COVID,
Mhm.
or before even, and, of course, they were keeping kids out of school. She was 2, was preschool, but I taught her everything, so she knew her planets, she knew about she knew everything, science,
Mhm.
space, spelling. I just taught her because I taught her on, a level that she could understand it, right, at 2. And so she picked it up. And so all of her for years before COVID, like, when she was going there even younger, um, I guess the other parents saw the evolution of her learning, and they knew they weren't getting it from the very expensive preschool. Now, when I say very expensive preschool, this was a wealthy neighborhood. Matter of fact, some of the celebrities that go there. I literally met Jermaine Jackson with his, grandchild that was there. We
Okay.
would sit in the parent room together and chat. So I'm talking that kinda high level. Rosie Huntington, who's married to one of these action stars, I can't think of his Nathan Lamb or something. I don't know, I get the name, I'm butcher the names, but they all had their kids there, so these celebrities. So they had money, okay?
Okay.
So when COVID hit, they all wanted to come over to where my granddaughter lived. It was a nice house,
Mhm.
and have me teach their kids, and they were willing to give me thousands of dollars each for their kid, what they were paying this expensive preschool to
Right.
teach their kids like I taught my granddaughter.
Okay.
I ran daycare centers before I taught preschool. I taught all ages,
Right.
but I was at the age where I don't wanna do that no more. I'll be in administration, but I
Right.
don't wanna teach.
Right.
So, it took a lot for me to know that I could have probably made a good $6,000 a week minimum to turn
Mhm.
that down. But for me, like,
Right.
and if anyone who knows me, it's not about the money for me. Like, I like
Right.
having money, but my freedom is so much more important to me. So, I turned it down. So that's why I said I almost accidentally started
Oh,
one because they kept asking. Then they kept asking. I'm like, "Am I being dumb here? Like, not taking this? I can do this. It's not that I
right.
can't, but I didn't know if I wanted to be responsible for their children." And, a lot of times when you have wealthy children, they don't listen well.
Mhm.
They have privilege. So I
Right.
didn't know if I wanted to get involved with that. But
Okay.
that's why I was saying I accidentally almost did it. Long story that's what happened. Now let me ask this question. Could you
Sure.
explain this? In a system that often wasn't built with our children in mind, like some of these schools, can we really afford to keep doing things that traditional way and sending our kids to regular schools? Is that something we can afford to keep doing?
Oh, listen, um, I am just going to say to that resounding no. We absolutely cannot continue to do the same things that we've always done. And I think that therein lies the problem with traditional education. That's what they're doing. They haven't even reinvented the wheel. They just turned the wheel over on the other side. They paint it brown, they paint it red, they paint it blue. Um, they don't have a strategy to change uh, anything for our children. They don't have a real strategy, and that is what makes micro schools so absolutely fabulous because it represents more than just a small learning environment. It's really a paradigm shift in how education should serve Black children and can serve Black children. Now, I say Black children, but I mean all children. Let me be clear, because a lot of children are being failed in this system. And coming from a traditional education background, I am not anti-public education. I'm not. I think it worked well for me. I'm a product of public school. Hey, they did something right, right? And I know many people who have gone through the public school system and did very well for themselves. And they were smart, they were, and they loved the experience. And so did I, to be quite honest. And so it's a great thing for some students, but for too long, our families have been navigating these systems that weren't really designed to have children excel. And it seems that when they changed the design to supposedly help, that it doesn't get better, it gets worse. And so from what Microschools do is disrupt that model. We offer very nimble, community-driven alternatives where learning environments can be tailored to reflect cultural values, to honor histories, learning styles. In a microschool, it's possible to center a child's needs as a whole person, to consider where they come from, their family, their household, how they learn there, if they're learning there, right? So all of those things could be considered. The child is not just the test score that you're trying to raise, right? And so one of the things that we provide the families that traditional education does not is educational sovereignty, the ability for parents and teachers to co-create learning experiences based upon not just the needs of the child, the likes and dislikes of the child, the curiosity that the child has, what brings them joy. It gives schooling or learning, it gives it wings, it gives it possibility. And so I'm excited about Microschools for that reason, because I went from watching children cry because they were afraid of the test that's coming up, to having children understand that they're doing their very best and putting forward their best effort every day, and watching them grow in confidence, learning and growing in confidence. I mean, what else can you ask for as a parent, as a teacher, than seeing a child happy and learning and wanting to, being involved in the process? That's what we want, both as parents and teachers, I think.
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Now, Nicole, you have a long career in traditional education. So, what was the aha moment that made you say, it's time to do something different?
Well, there were several. Um, I like to call myself, when I work for traditional education, the disruptor.
Mhm.
And so I was teaching fourth grade, and we had a writing test that was coming up. And so with this writing test, of course, there's some nervousness among the students about whether or not they're going to be able to do this. When you have a classroom of 25 children, you run the gamut of how students are feeling, right?
Mm.
And so you have some kids that are totally confident and they're ready. You have some students who are a little shaky, but they know have all the information and they're willing to give it their best try. And then you have some students that are absolutely nervous and feel like if they fail, that their life is over. Their parents are going to be upset. Their teacher's going to be disappointed. They'll be disappointed in themselves, and they're feeling all of the emotions. Well, that particular day, the day I decided to check out, that was one of the things that was happening. I had a student come to me and say that she was having a very hard time, and that she just didn't know if she was going to pass the test. Now, this student was an extremely great writer. She was this extremely creative writer. And I always praised her for her writing. But because of the technical things that the test was looking for, some of those things didn't come natural to her, right? She was more, like I said, a creative writer. And so I told her that day as she was crying at my desk, I told her, I said, listen, I said, this test, I said, you're going to do fine. You're going to do great. You're an amazing writer. And so you'll do well. I said, but what I want you to remember is that everything that you do, you're to give 100%. I said, you'll have other opportunities to write. You'll do well. And so don't worry about this test. Don't cry about this test. I said, because you're prepared and you'll do well. So my student, like the great student that she was, she was a great communicator, even talking. And so she went home, she talked to her mom about the test. When her mom asked, she said, my teacher told me not to worry about it, that I'm going to do well. I wasn't really sure what was wrong with that statement, but apparently there was something wrong with it. And I had to have a conversation with my principal about it. And I just told them in that moment, I said, I would not change anything that I said. I said, she's an amazing writer. So whether she passes this test or fails it, it says nothing about her as a writer. I said, and I won't take that back. I won't take that back. So anyway, the long and the short of the story is that they did not want me to tell her that she would be okay, even if she didn't pass this test. Now, as a teacher, I don't know, maybe I thought it was the right thing to do because I am there to teach the child, right? I am not, even though the state wants me to be concerned about the score, I'm there to teach the child. Let me just say that the child took the test and she did very well. She was 1 point away from perfect.
That's great.
She was 1 point away from perfect. And so the issue that we have is that in the issue that I had as a teacher is that we were not able to affirm children. We were not able to touch them, to hug them, to tell them that life is not over if they don't pass this test, that it doesn't mean that they're not smart or they're not putting forth their best effort. It was frowned upon. I just want to be in a place where I can affirm children, where I can say your best is enough. Some children have the ability to reach the moon, and some have the ability to reach the stars. Their best gets them there. And that's what I look for in students. We know as moms and we know as teachers when kids are not doing their best, right?
No,
We know.
absolutely.
And so if I know that a child is there, then I'm going to affirm them. Yes, I believe that you can do it, and I believe that you're doing your best. And that day, when I got the finger, I said, you know what? This isn't the environment for me. And that was just one of many things that have happened, not necessarily like that. I also created a curriculum. And within that curriculum, I saw so many children that just needed more out of me as a teacher, just about, I needed to teach them how to communicate. with their friends, with their classmates. And it wasn't something that you could do I was allowed to do inside of that classroom. And so it just wasn't for me. I understood at that moment that my path had to be different, that I had to go outside of traditional education in order to give the children that I encounter what they need.
Okay. Now,
Mhm.
how do micro schools intentionally like serve our kids differently?
Well, listen, one of the things that I absolutely love about micro schools is the personalized education. We center each child's um, their wants, their likes, their dislikes. We sit down with parents and we create a personalized education plan for each child. And so if a child is more in my school in particular, and like I said, many micro schools are different. You have micro schools that are STEM based, micro schools that are outdoors, that are on farms. We have micro schools that meet at the
That's
beach.
amazing.
there,
That's
there are
amazing. I would love that. I would love to go to a micro school on a farm.
Listen, you have so many things. We have at our micro school, we have a garden and chickens, and we're growing things, and we're those are the kind of things children and parents who are drawn to that will be drawn to this micro school. There are other parents who want their child to be in would love for their child to learn at the beach all day.
Yes.
Um, so those are things, those are different, those are just two of the variations of micro schools that you'll find out there. There are STEM-based micro schools, sports-based micro schools. There are so many different, they really do run the gamut. Um, but what we do better, I think, than any school, not just traditional education, I, that's my little laugh because people don't like when I say this, but I think that micro schools are the answer to a lot of questions. It's the answer to a lot of problems, just the very nature of them being small, the very nature of them being personalized, the proximity you have to parents because of that. Those are the things that separate us from other school types because we have the time, the full day, right? Because we traditionally also have teachers who are trained teachers, right? We all in our school, in most schools, you have parents as teachers. You have most micro schools. Let me rephrase. Most micro schools, you have parents as teachers. You have teachers as teachers. You have assistants. You have coaches. Those are the things that show up in micro schools, and the thing that we do well that I think that most places miss is the personalized education, and specifically for Black children, that cultural edge that we bring into education. I think it's just an amazing thing, and I think it is the solution to a lot of the problems that our children have. For example, if you don't mind, let me go into those things. Um, we have an issue with reading and math in our within for Black students. 80%, for example, in DC, Maryland area lack proficiency in reading and in math. And so we know that when a child is behind, a large educational setting, a large traditional educational setting will not do. It just will not get them where they need to be. So this is why they remain behind year after year after year. And so this small setting, this personalized education plan allows a child to catch up. It allows them to catch up more quickly because remember, you have more access to the instructor. You have smaller groups settings. You have more personalized education, and they're able to work on the grade level on which they've tested until they reach the one that they're supposed to be. For example, a fourth grader might be reading on a second grade level. So he's able to master those skills to get to the fourth grade level. More than likely, I have a second grader who has started the beginning of the year, a fourth grader, I'm sorry, started the beginning of the year reading on a second grade level. He's now working 3.5. It's almost the end of the year, but he's almost caught up to where he's supposed to be. And those are the kind of things that don't happen in traditional education because there's no time for it to happen. I know that as a teacher, I did my very best for all the students in my classroom, but there was only one me.
Right.
And so that kind of that made it more difficult for the children. So I believe that micro schools definitely has an edge in that respect. It also has an edge for the exact opposite. For students who I have a bunch of gifted students coming in next year, and I'm really excited about it because they're also very bored. If they're in class and they have to work on their grade level and they're far beyond it, why is that the case?
Yeah.
Even in gifted education, they're pulled out for maybe an hour, 2 hours a day, depending on the school district, depending on the state. But the rest of the day, they're still stuck in a situation where they're working far beyond that grade level. And micro schools are great for that because they allow students to soar. They just do. That personal education plan works both ways.
Right,
And
it does.
yeah, and it's an awesome environment in both cases.
Okay. So we're discussing micro schools. If you're just listening in, if you don't know what it is, you need to listen because it
Mhm.
is something that might be the future that saves Black children. And speaking of saving Black children, as we know, let's discuss this: the school to prison pipeline. We know from research that Black children in public schools, especially, and private schools don't participate, but we know it happens there too, are punished more harshly than their peers, right? They
Yes.
tend to get suspended or expelled more often than their peers. And research has shown that when that happens consistently, and it happens often enough, and they miss school and they can't catch up, that it starts to spiral, right? Where they don't even like school anymore.
Right.
Why would you like a school that's treating you harshly, right? And so they stop going to school and then they get in trouble in the streets, and then prison is knocking on the door. So that's the school to prison pipeline, and it happens as young as kindergarten. So, how do the micro school model disrupt the school to prison pipeline that disproportionately targets Black youth?
Yes. I am glad you asked. That is a big concern it should be a concern for everyone, but it's a concern for certainly the population of Black students and parents. And let's be real, traditional schools have not been safe, they have not been supported or even fair in spaces for Black children. I've seen it firsthand. And most of us have felt the sting of our kids being misunderstood, overlooked, or worse, disciplined more harshly, as you said, or being for just being themselves, right? For doing things that maybe are culturally misunderstood or whatever, what have you. But that's why more and more Black families are turning to the promise of micro schools. Micro schools help in the way where we help with discipline because, first of all, it's a smaller environment, right? There's nobody to perform for, right? There's an environment that's created, one of accountability, right? One of affirmation. So these kids come in and they're affirmed, whoever they are, Whoever they are, good, bad, or indifferent, they're affirmed because you can see them. You don't have to see 25 students or even 150 in the middle school and high school cases. You just see the student sets in front of you. So they are affirmed, so they feel seen, right? We also, for example, in our school, we teach problem solving skills that would not work in traditional schools. For example, in our school, we teach something called intention matters. And I raised my hand because that's what they're supposed to do when they say that. When they come up against a problem with someone, with anyone or anything, they're to say, they get to get up, stand up, however they want to do it, and say intention matters. And so that is important because we teach, it teaches problem solving, it teaches communication. Intention matters means that um, I need to know. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, right? Because something can happen and it can make you angry, even adults, right? If I say something rude to you, it didn't seem rude to me, but you feel a way about it, right? I get to come to you and say, hey, intention matters. What did you mean by that? Because my feelings are hurt, right? And so those are the kind of things that we can do with 12 students as opposed to 20, right? Or as opposed to 25, or as opposed to however many. And so those are some of the strategies that we get to enforce in classrooms that are small, right? And so that's one of the things that we're able to do, just as it makes a difference. It makes a difference for our students. Some of the other things that disrupt that school to prison pipeline is the child, like I said before, they have an opportunity to catch up. They don't remain behind, right? So our schools allow them to catch up. It's that personalized education plan, the one we make with the student and with the parent, this is all in agreement. We're in agreement, and we understand what our goals are, and we work toward them together. And so the child feels seen, they feel affirmed, and they feel like they're going somewhere, and that they have a team, that they
Right.
have parents and teachers that are working with them to move them towards their goal. And so it's an amazing experience for the students. Students thrive. And most students thrive in microschools. I want to say all because, I'm a little slightly biased, but most students thrive in this environment. They just do.
Well, that is good, and we want our kids to thrive. Now, we have a question from one of our viewers, and I'm not sure if they're talking about in the public schools. So, Shirley, you can clarify that, lady, later. But how do you deal with parents who get upset when his or her child has a hard time fitting in with the focus on them? And I'm assuming at public schools, and then they're coming to a micro school. So,
They have hard time fitting in, and the focus is on them, or it's not.
I guess we're talking about the school to prison pipeline. So they have had a hard time at public school, and now they're coming into a micro school system.
And they're having a hard time.
They were having a hard time, but now
Okay.
they don't like school. But now we're going to a micro school. That's what I'm getting from the question. If I'm wrong, Shirley, please clarify.
So, so most of the time, when a child comes from a traditional education to a micro school setting, it's for a few reasons. Either they are having a hard time in traditional education, either from that being maybe sometimes it has to do with bullying. Sometimes it has to do with them not thinking they're learning what they need to be learning, being uncomfortable in the environment for whatever reason. And so when they come to micro schools, it's a different setting. I won't tell you that it's the same. It's absolutely, you're learning, you're doing all the things, but it is absolutely a different setting. And so the child will probably more than likely have a lot more attention from the teacher than they would in a traditional setting. And I hope that I'm answering this question the way that you asked it. But they will have that attention. And so if they're uncomfortable with that, that is always something that can be discussed with the teacher, with the instructor. I, for one, we have students in our school that are shy. Some of them they just don't want to be bothered, but they get excited about what they get excited about, right? And so they don't want the attention, but some things they will come out and they'll shine in. And so as a teacher in a micro school, you get an opportunity to know the child, right? And so as a parent, I would ask that teacher to make some adjustments to how they deal with my child. And I'm sure that they're absolutely willing to do that. But naturally, the child would get more attention just because of the size. But if they need a little less, if they need the light on someone else for a little while, I think that it's something that within your personalized education plan that you can ask for, and ask the child, how do you want, oh, I see that you love math. Would you prefer to just participate during math, or would you? So those are some of the things that I think would be beneficial to that child, to just ask them, how would you like to contribute to the school setting, and follow their lead.
Okay. Let's talk about curriculum. But before we even get to that, what age groups are we talking about here for microschools?
Microschools range in age from preschool to high school.
All right. That's what I wanted to hear. I wanted everyone to know that. So let's talk about curriculum. How can microschools center Black identity, history, and culture in the way that public schools often avoid? Come back, Nicole. There you go.
I'm here.
That's okay. You don't have to turn off your video for that. I mean, you could mute your audio, but we need to see you. So stay with us because we're live. They want to see your beautiful face.
Oh, I forgot for a
Okay.
moment.
That's okay. Yeah, they all they saw was a black screen. So, but let's talk about the curriculum. I'll repeat the question. How can microschools center Black identity, history, and culture in a way that public schools often avoid?
So, listen, I live in a state where Black history curriculum has been essentially banned. And so this particular subject is really important. It's important in centering students who identify as Black. It's important for them to know who they are. It's important for them to know where they come from. That's where confidence comes from. That's where knowing you can do it. It's where all of it comes from. And so that is extremely important to know and to be inclusive. I believe that teaching Black history is just teaching history, right? It's just teaching history. So it's important that we teach our children and let them know exactly who they are. And most micro schools, specifically Black-led micro schools, do understand that and make that a part of what they teach. And it can be, there's so many ways to do that. You can integrate it into daily curriculum. You can do it. It can be project-based. There's so many ways that can be done, but it is a priority for many of the Black micro school leaders that I know.
Okay. Now, if you were watching live, you may have seen a technical issue. I think it's worked out now. It wasn't on our end, so we don't know what happened. But I think they heard most of what you said. So that's fine. Our screens seem to go black on my end. And if you didn't see that, great. That's what I saw. Okay. So, Nicole, this has been powerful. So for listeners who want to learn more, start a micro school, or get involved in this movement, where can they find you? And there's the National Association of Black Micro School Leaders, correct? So where can they find this information?
So two things. The National Association of Black Micro School Leaders is a membership-based organization. You can join our Facebook group. All you have to do is search for National Association of Black Micro School Leaders on Facebook, or it is at Black Micro School Leaders. Also, we have Rich Kids University, which is richkidsuniversity.com. That is our online mentoring and enrichment program, and it teaches both financial literacy and entrepreneurship to kids. We're having a summer session that's starting this summer. And so you can go to richkidsuniversity.com and get that information. It connects you to both organizations.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nicole, for joining us today. It was a pleasure having you.
Listen, it was a pleasure being here. I love how you guys center Black families and uplift Black families, and it's a privilege.
Thank you. Thank you again. And a big shout out to all of you tuning in and engaging with us here at Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting Magazine, the syndicated podcast that's a must for Black parents everywhere. And be sure you follow us on social media. Click on everything. Follows, likes, ads. Even if you're not going to buy anything, just click it, okay? Because that helps us to thrive. And don't forget to share, because social media is everything about sharing and liking, and that's how we exist. So don't forget to share blackparentingacademy.com with a friend. It's going to be your go-to place to get master classes by experts in Black parenting. Go to blackparentingacademy.com. And until next time, y'all, I wish you the best and much success. Take care. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to Back Talk by Successful Black Parenting Magazine. We'll see you soon.